Hey everybody, it's Matt from You and Your Horror Movies, and welcome to day 28 of my 31 Days of Horror. Okay, time to do a different type of review for you. Usually it's a movie. Today I'm going to be doing a documentary. Documentaries are great, very informative, some stuff that you never knew about, and sometimes you get an idea of like, oh, I don't have that. So I'm doing a review on a documentary done in 2013. This DVD is put out by 88 Films. It's a two-discer, and it's got actually two documentaries on it. But to talk about, it's called Slice and Dice, the slasher film forever. The complete history of Mad Maniac movies. Yes, this is pretty cool, the little documentary. This is a Region PAL DVD. So if you have can play your DVD Blu-ray player, can play Region PAL, you can play this. Again, this is a two-disc DVD that's got two different informations on each disc and a bonus documentary, which I'll get to in a minute. All right, what Slice and Dice is pretty much a documentary on slashers. Now, if you're a big slasher fan, you would find this very interesting. It goes right from the beginning, from the 1960s, with Peeping Tom and Psycho, competing between which one was probably the first slasher. And it could lead up into possibly Bay of Blood, which everyone thinks, well, those are not. Maybe Bay of Blood was. You get interviewed with a bunch of different actors, actresses, directors, writers, and talking about all different type of slashers. And what is great is they play part of slasher trailers in between each interview, and back and forth. And they'll show in the corner like who the individual is, what movie they were doing, or anything like that. And it will show when they do the cut of the slasher, in the corner it'll tell you the date and the name of the slasher. But they go all over the place, not just 80s and 70s. We go up into the 90s and the early 2000s, which is pretty cool. So pretty much it's a documentary that runs 80 minutes. So you have yourself about an hour and 20-minute documentary based on different type of slashers. It's actually a lot of fun, very informative. I definitely recommend grabbing this, especially if you're a documentary fan, if you're a slasher fan, or overall a horror fan. Now people are like, well, documentaries are kind of boring. Not really, especially if it's in a area that you really enjoy. If you really enjoy horror films, there's some really good documentaries out there. Now there's been a bunch of other documentaries on slashers, like Going to Pieces. If you want the specific ones for Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. But if you just want an overall general of other weird slashers or ones that you probably never heard of, then like Going to Pieces, Slice and Dice, and other ones are very informative because they bring down other slashers that are interesting, and you're like, oh wait, I remember that film, or oh, I need to grab that one too. So you give yourself like a little cheat sheet on that. This covers a lot of range of slashers, so it's not just like 3 or 4 or the big named ones. They talk about like Tourist Trap, Prom Night, like Bay of Blood. They go into the Giallos with was it a Deep Red, Tenebrae, and a bunch of other films. Wrong Turn, The Scream. I know what you did last summer. Good genre stuff. So, what is your disc one? Your disc one is your Slice and Dice slasher film forever, with optional commentary by director Callum Waddle and Justin Kurzweil. You have bonus outtakes, interviews with J.S. Cardin, Corey Feldman, Adam Green, Fred Ray Olson, Felicia Rose, and Kevin Tienery. It says all kinds of twisted. The theme from Slice and Dice, performed by the band called Acid Fascists. It's a music video. Then you have like different trailers of different films. So, but it also has more interviews with like R.H. Milhoff, Toby Hooper, Tom Holland, Patrick Lussier, who did like My Bloody Valentine remake. So there's a ton of different interviewers. Tony Todd was in here. They didn't interview like, Robert Englund or Kane Hodder or any of those, but a lot of other people who've done slashers or who've been in slashers. So it's really interesting what they did, like Lloyd Kaufman. There's a couple trauma slashers in this one as well. So I definitely recommend this. Now with disc 2, you have Don't Go Into the Woods, Sorry, Don't Go Into the Backwoods. Bonus documentary, which is about 37 minutes long. That bonus documentary talks about backwoods slashers. Don't Go Into the Woods Alone, Just Before Dawn, even like Deliverance. Even though it's not a slasher, but they talk about backwoods horror. So that's pretty much what that's uh, a documentary about. Like Hills Have Eyes, anything backwoodsy. That's what it talks about. And you got trailers for different 80s slashers, 90s slashers, 70s slashers, and 60s. And you also have different commentaries. There's a couple things I did not agree with this documentary. One was when they interviewed the gentleman who did Final Destination. Where is it? What's his name? I think it was Jeffrey Riddick, the creator of Final Destination. He said he wanted to create a slasher without a slasher. Well, he kind of did, which is, of course, death. Death is picking them off one at a time. So it kind of is like a supernatural slasher, but I don't think I consider Final Destination a slasher film. But, to each their own, that's pretty neat. But they did kind of include Saw as a slasher franchise. Now, Saw is not a slasher franchise at all to me. It's in the torture-esque, and they even brought it up in the documentary. Like, one guy said, Saw is a slasher film, blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking, no. And, of course, a couple other people who get interviewed are like, no, Saw is, they call it the torture porn section, or the torture-esque films. So you kind of have a cool back and forth between different people saying, one is and one isn't. Like, what is considered a slasher? What is the rules? So they talk about rules of being in slashers, how to survive a slasher, a whole bunch of different things. So this is very informative documentary. I definitely recommend grabbing it. I love watching horror docs, and they're just fun. I love picking them up. That's the back. So it's not very much picturesque. But again, I love watching documentaries. They're very fun to watch, very informative. If you just want something like, pretty cool and interesting you never even thought of, you never know. I actually found slashers that I never knew about through horror documentaries. I'm going, oh shit, I never knew about that slasher. Let me write that down. Go on Amazon, eBay, see if there's a release of it. Lo and behold, there is. And all of a sudden, hey, now it's out. Woohoo! So you never know with those kind of things. So I definitely recommend picking up documentaries for your collection because they're, again, I'm not going to repeat myself again, but informative, cool documents just to sit around. And it's not boring because you're watching part trailers of different kills. Like they were playing Bloody Moon in one scene, and all of a sudden there's a girl getting her head sawed off by the big buzzsaw. So it runs all over the place. So again, I definitely recommend checking out Slice and Dice. This is by 88 Films. Here, 88 Films, if you're not know, they're pretty much a UK-based company, kind of like a Scream Factory, but over in the UK. A lot of their stuff is region-free. Some of it is not. So you have to look to see if it is your particular region. Again, this is Region PAL, so if you have a Region PAL player, you can play this documentary. Like me, I have a Universal player. Doesn't bother me. So definitely check your regions, especially when you're going to a different area for different regions. If it's a Region B, Region 1, 2, 3, all those different codes. So make sure to check that to see if your player can play that. But again, check out Slice and Dice from 2007. Awesome little documentary. Again, if you're into horror docs, let me know in the comments down below. There's some other ones out there. I'd like to hear your thoughts on those. Alright guys, I'm rambling. Have yourself a good one, and stay tuned for some more horror. Later guys. Peace.